It's the WMAY Morning News Feed. I'm Greg Bishop, and Business in the 217, highlighting some great things that are going on here in the community. And one of those things, the Central Illinois Foodbank. You know a lot about them, but do you know that they've hooked up with an author to get some proceeds to help out the food bank? Well, joining us right now, a couple of individuals in this effort for the Central Illinois Foodbank. We have Beth Wakefield, also author, Springfield resident, and that's Teressa Shelton joining us. Ladies, thanks so much for taking time. This is a pretty cool thing that's going on here with an important issue as well. And I want to start first with Teressa. The book that you wrote, it's got some tough themes. But I think that these themes are something that people who are especially having some troubling times that may need help from the Central Illinois Food Bank could probably learn from. So tell us what the book is all about and where people can find it.
Okay. It is a coming-of-age memoir that deals, as you said, with sort of sensitive, kind of grim content. It's about growing up with an abusive father who happened to be a sergeant in the Army. He abused my sisters, two sisters, and me, but he never laid a hand on my mom. She was very complicit in his abuse and never stepped in or intervened to protect her children. So as I said, it does have a grim content, but it also has some, I think, good, inspiring qualities, if I can say that. It's about grit, it's about determination, but it's also about, and perseverance, but it's also about the kindness of total strangers and the importance of that. I don't think that individuals understand the role that total strangers can have on the impact they can have on a child's life. And so I just wanted to bring that forward. And also the idea of domestic abuse. It's not something we like to talk about, but it's out there and it doesn't have a color. It's something that happens in all families and it's happening all the time. And another troubling factor is that more than 50% of us abuse our own children, you know? So I think just bringing awareness to there is a way out, other people helped, and just to share my story to hopefully give people courage to share their story and start the healing process.
Teressa Shelton, author of The Sergeant's Daughter, and a book about some pretty hard things to understand and to read, but also I think an interesting segue into the book highlighting how sometimes strangers can play an important role in people's lives. And I think that's where the Central Illinois Food Bank comes in, because a lot of times people who donate to the food bank, they don't see exactly who is getting the proceeds from the food bank. So let's go ahead and bring in Beth here with the Central Illinois Food Bank. Tell us about the, I guess, collaboration between the food bank and Teressa and her novel.
Yeah, it's just been such a great opportunity to work with Teressa. We appreciate her generosity in selecting Central Illinois Food Bank and Habitat for Humanity of Sangamon County to be the recipients of the proceeds of the book. And as she said, her book, it's an amazing tale of just courage and perseverance. And I had an opportunity to read it, and it amazed me the number of people that came in to her life and just touched her. And it's kind of reminded me of my own life, of how complete strangers have come in and out and touched my life in ways that they will never know. And so we appreciate the generous donation that allows us to be that role in a person's life who might be facing food insecurity here in the area.
Teressa, when you talk about putting together a book like this, you really got to dig deep, I would imagine, into some tough territory that maybe you have repressed in the past. If you could kind of talk about how your strength in recounting some of those events in your life helped get through those events and to work through the problems that may have been long lasting, and what kinds of lessons you've learned that could help those who are suffering from food insecurity, who are suffering from not being in the best place in their life, and may needing to go out and find assistance from complete strangers like the food bank. So if you could elaborate a bit on some of the challenges that you've had in trying to work through those issues in the book, The Sergeant's Daughter.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a lot I have to unpack on that question. So feel free to prompt me if I forget one of the A, B, C, or D of your part of your question. The first part has to do with the process. It was probably the toughest thing that I've ever had to do. And you're right, part of it was because I had to relive every one of those little vignettes and issues, and but it certainly was a cathartic process. I used to think that I spent most of my adult life sort of just trying to pretend that most of this didn't happen. And I used to think, like a lot of people do, that, oh, it's behind me. Why dredge up the past? It's behind you. You've certainly moved on. Just bear down and get through it, which is something my mother used to tell me all the time. But when I explained this to my children who knew nothing about this, the way I explained it to them is that my past is sort of like our shadow. It's behind you, but it's always there. So I had to come to that sort of realization that there were times that it did impact my life, and I didn't really want it to or expect it to and want to believe that it had. So reliving my childhood, was part of that process of me accepting what happened to me, why it happened to me, and now what can I do about it? And I think the number one thing that I felt is that I had to share. And it's difficult. It's a difficult subject. It's difficult to share. And but I felt like if I didn't, I would be somehow letting people down, especially during this pandemic, where, oh my gosh, my heart goes out to these poor children and women and other people who were being abused. I just can't imagine being a captive, because we are anyway. We're just that's how our abusers keep us quiet, is that they keep us captive. And so not being able to go to school, not being able to go outside and play, not being able to go to Girl Scouts or to church or to have any kind of escape, my heart just went out to those people. And at the same time, right now we have both the food insecurity that you mentioned, as well as, just our home and shelter right now are fundamentally something that's just not, it's even more difficult today than during the pandemic than it was prior to. So I think some of the lessons I learned is that you have to share. It allowed me to let go of the shame that I had of being abused, because our abusers make us feel like it's our fault. That if we'd just been better people, if we'd just been smarter, a smarter girl, or if we just done our chores in an efficient manner, then he wouldn't have to beat me. It was all my fault. So to let go of that shame, to also let go of the shame of my mother, who just never, as I said, never chose me. She single-handedly probably broke me down almost more than my dad did, because my self-esteem was as low as it could be. And I think that was mostly because of her. I never felt worthy of being protected. And then the last thing I learned is you got to tell somebody. For me, it was my college professor. And she began to kind of chip away and break down my barriers and my wall. And, that was the beginning of the process. But that was, 30 some years ago. It is a long process. And now that it's over, I'm so thrilled and so glad that I did it.
Well, and the lessons that you are able to convey in the book, I'm sure definitely is something that a lot of people finding themselves in tough situations can take upon themselves, and to get rid of that shame, to reach out to people, to let them know that they're having problems, that it's not their fault, that they do have avenues to get the help and to have those open ears. And that's something that Beth, the Central Illinois Foodbank, is right there to help along with. And the proceeds from Teresa's book, The Sergeant's Daughter, are going to help out those at the Central Illinois Foodbank. Beth, for other people who want to step up like Teresa has with the proceeds from her book, The Sergeant's Daughter, to help out the Central Illinois Foodbank, how can somebody like myself, I don't have a book, but I've got, some spare dollars I can help. Where can we go to help out the Central Illinois Foodbank to get the resources that are needed for the community?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to just quickly touch upon what Teresa said, that her last part was making sure she told somebody, and that I would be remiss if not saying that it is important that you tell somebody. If you are someone in need of help or need of food, the Central Illinois Food Bank, we are here. We have a food locator on our website where you can enter the county where you live to find food pantries, soup kitchens in your area. The information includes hours and contact information. And then, just as you said, Greg, we want to you can get involved. You can go to centralilfoodbank.org and you can find out how you can get involved with the food bank. You can volunteer. There's always a need of packaging boxes for distributions, or doing runs of deliveries of food to food pantries, our partner agencies that we work with. You can also donate food or dollars. All of that allows us to continue to secure and distribute food to those who need it most.
Beth Wakefield with the Central Illinois Food Bank, Teressa Shelton, author of The Sergeant's Daughter. Thank you both for taking time with us and talking about several very important issues in the community that people are struggling with, and how The Sergeant's Daughter book can help them get through some of those things, but also how the proceeds from that book can help out the Central Illinois Food Bank right here in our communities. This is the WMAY news feed. Thank you both for being here, and Happy New Year.